Maybe the heat.
Yeah, please. Looks like it's really hot in Mayapur.
Quite hot.
Well, yeah. How much it is? 30, 38? Not
Oh.
so much. 33, sorry. It says 33 now. Feels like 34. Well,
Here
I
is-
didn't have to.
Here is 31.
Ah, okay. Not.
Hare Krishna.
I didn't have to use AC today. Yesterday I had to. Today I didn't. So it's not
The
that
air,
bad.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, the air in the room is quite boiling. So when I will speak, I have to have the fan off.
Yeah, it's humid. I have a fan on a full speed going on, so but it could be worse.
Could be
Okay,
worse.
others are joining also. Just one or two more minutes, then we can start, and then whoever joins later, they can join anytime.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we can start. Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. So we'll start. I'll just quickly summarize what we did in the previous class by sharing the screen. Okay. So if you remember, we are in the 13th chapter of the 7th canto, which is continuation of Varnashrama chapters. We started with the 12th chapter where we heard about Brahmacharya ashram, Vanaprastha ashram. Now, at the beginning of this chapter, we heard about sannyas ashram and duties, qualities, etc. of sannyasis. And now we are reading particular story of Prahlad Maharaj meeting Avaduta Brahmana. It started at Shloka 11. So it was some historical example on that Sakya mountain. Prahlad Maharaj met that sadhu lying on the ground, covered in dust, completely dirty, but looking very well fed. Basically practicing the lifestyle of a python. And everybody else except of Prahlad, they thought he's just dumb and mad lying there. But Prahlad, being advanced devotee, he could actually recognize that this person is a saintly, self-realized person, and he asked him a question because he was intrigued. He said, "You do not work to earn your livelihood, but you have a stout body." He was looking quite strong, like he's enjoying his senses. So how come that your body is so fat? Because you don't work to eat well. And then now we are hearing the Brahmana's answer. We read 21 and 22. So I'll just quickly repeat. Obeys to the demons, you are respected by advanced men. You are aware of different stages of life by your inner spiritual wisdom. So basically here the Brahmana is glorifying Prahlad Maharaj, his exalted status. And then he said, because of your pure devotion, you are actually able to know everything. So this is how Prahlad could actually recognize this sadhu, because he had a pure vision of pure devotee. So as it said, only pure devotee can recognize another pure devotee. So I'll start reading, and then we can take turns. So this is Sloka 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naram Shiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasam Tattvaja Udiraya. Nashta Prasha Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloki Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Just 1 second, this Zoom is closed. I don't know how to move it. Anyway, okay, so Tathapi Brumahe Prashnam Sthavar Hajan Yathashrutam Sambhashaniyo hi Bhavan Atmana Shudit Ichyatam. So this is again Avadhuta Brahmana speaking. Translation, my dear king, is this 23? Yeah, 23. Although you know everything, you have posed some questions which I should try to answer according to what I have learned by hearing from authorities. I cannot remain silent in this regard, for a personality like you is just fit to be spoken to by one who desires self-purification. So before Prahlad Maharaj, he cannot remain silent. In front of others, there was no problem. He could just, keep lying there because others, they were not they had not status of Prahlad Maharaj. So purport, but Srila Prabhupada, a saintly person does not wish to speak to anyone and everyone, and he is therefore grave and silent. Generally, a common man does not need to be advised. Unless one is prepared to take instructions, it is said that a saintly person should not address him, although sometimes because of great kindness, a saintly person speaks to ordinary men. As for Prahlad Maharaj, however, since he was not a common, ordinary man, whatever questions he posed would have to be answered, even by great and exalted personality. Therefore, the saintly Brahmana did not remain silent, but began to answer. These answers, however, were not concocted by him. This is indicated by the words yatha shrutam, meaning as I have heard from the authorities. In the parampara system, when the questions are bona fide, the answers are bona fide. No one should attempt to create or manufacture answers. One must refer to the Shastras and give answers according to the Vedic understanding. The words yatha shrutam refer to Vedic knowledge. The Vedas are known as Shruti because this knowledge is received from authorities. The statements of the Vedas are known as Shruti Praman. One should quote evidence from the Shruti, the Vedas, or Vedic literature, and then one's statements will be correct. Otherwise, one's words will proceed from mental concoction. And Vishwanath Thakur comments, he is paraphrasing the Avadhuta, I respect you, thus though I have taken a vow of silence, I'll break that vow for you. Thus, Tathapi, I'm speaking answers as I have heard. These are not concocted. So just quickly here before we go back to the top. So Avadhuta has taken vow of silence, but he is ready to break that vow because exalted devotee is in front of him. So serving the devotee is more important than his vow of silence. Sometimes we also make some vows and we can be quite rigid or not flexible of breaking them. Of course, this also depends what the vow is. For example, you may vow to fast Nirjala Ekadashi, to not eat or drink water on Ekadashi, but it is mentioned that if Guru orders you to eat, then you should obey and break your so-called vow. So similarly, yeah, the saintly person's order is more important than any personal vow. What are the other points here? Yeah, the important point is that a saintly person, he does not wish to speak to anyone and everyone about everything and anything. and generally he's grave and silent. So that means that we should not really waste our time trying to preach to those who do not want to hear. You know, I don't know if you met such persons. You try to preach to them, but it's like speaking to the wall. They just cannot accept. They don't want to hear. Actually, they will argue with you. They might fight back with you. Sometimes on book distribution, you meet born again Christians, and it's complete waste of time because they'll try actually to preach to you and to convert you. So if you get into argument with them, you waste a lot of time. Similarly, there are others also who are really not ready to hear any philosophy. If they're open and receptive, you might give them a book if they want to take, or give them prasadam, or they may hear the Harinam, and in this way be benefited. But to preach to those who are not receptive to your talking to them, it's not very wise. It's a waste of time and energy, and there is no need for that. You might even just agitate those persons who do not want to hear. So you cannot. So some discrimination should be there while talking to others. Who can hear what? Sometimes new devotees, they're very enthusiastic, to preach to their parents, but whether their parents can understand or not, it's very questionable. Sometimes they might, but you have to be, you have to be a little discriminative. This is the important point.
Can I ask a question, Prabhu? Just
Yeah.
slightly off topic, but similar. How do you respond to those that are interested but question us as to? They said there are very many versions. How do we know that Srila Prabhupada's version is the correct one? Now, how do you answer that? I mean, we say it's as it is, but they say that other people say it's as it is as well. How do we answer the authenticity of Srila Prabhupada's purports and translations? Translations more strictly than purports, because purports are his interpretation, but translations are word for word. How do we explain to them that this is the most pucka version out there?
Oh, basically, they want to hear, but they have doubt whether Prabhupada's presentation is correct. This is what you're saying, Shulesh
Yeah,
Prabhu.
they
Is
say
it?
there are so many versions out there. How do we know that this version is the right version? I mean, my answer was you read each of them if you think there are so many, and then see which one resonates with you. You find what, if the truth is in your heart, the truth will find the truth. But I don't know whether that's the right answer.
Yeah, this is one approach. Other answer I would give: see how many other versions of Bhagavad Gita, for example, did anything. There were so many translations before Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. And did it do these other versions? Did they make any devotee? No. But Prabhupada's version, when Prabhupada's presentation, changed the lives of millions of people. It created a whole movement that spread all over the world. So what is that Palyana Parichite? You judge by the results. You can judge by the results of thousands of people taking up to bhakti and practicing it and becoming a devotee, changing their lives. This is very, very, very clear. The other versions didn't really do much. So I don't know if they
I
could.
play devil's advocate here because there are other versions. For instance, the Chinmay mission is a purely Mayavadi mission, and their version is a Mayavadi version, and they have thousands, if not tens of thousands, of followers. Similarly, you have the Swaminarayans who have their own Shastra, which has gone completely in a different tangent. But again, they have hundreds of thousands of so-called devotees. So, I mean,
Okay, then you have to tell them. Then you try and judge yourself to find which version is for you. What else?
that's the old I could think of. Then saying, look, if you think there are so many, you want to experiment, and then if your heart is pure, Krishna will guide you to the correct version. What else can we say?
Yeah, what else you can tell them? He has, to try himself and see whether this is resonating for him, the presentation of
I mean, this is
Prabhupada.
one of the most popular arguments I find amongst those that are intelligent, that they think they're spiritual. They read lots and lots wide and then they want to experiment. But when you try and give them Prabhupada's version, you say, how do we know this is the correct version? So it's kind of a really annoying argument.
Yeah, those who are overly smart or overly intelligent, and they might not actually have enough sukriti, enough pious credit to accept immediately what Prabhupada says. Those who were devotees in previous lives, who had touch with the pure devotional service, for them it's self-evident. Immediately they are attracted to it. Immediately they accept it. It requires sukriti that sometimes is accumulated over many lifetimes to accept the right version, the Prabhupada's version. It requires touch with the pure devotees from the past. If they don't have it, they won't be able to accept it. But then at least you try to create some sukriti in them, but you cannot convince them. But at least you can be nice to them. You can give them prasad and invite them to the temple, and gradually, they might build up some sukriti and some faith might be born. But you cannot force them. You cannot by force. You cannot make them by force to accept Prabhupada's version. It's just impossible. They have to be convinced and attracted themselves. That's the only way. So yeah, it takes long time to build up bhakti, unmukhi sukriti that is comparable to bhakti, and it's also only possible in the association of pure devotees. So yeah, if they want to come to the temple, to the program, to accept prasadam, to accept book, gradually they will build up, but it's not possible immediately. This is all I can think of. Anybody else has any insights on this or any other point in this verse? Please feel free. Otherwise, we can proceed with the reading. Okay, let's go to the next one. Dhanashri Mataji, would you like to read?
I will probably, yes. Okay. Krishnaya Bhava Vainya Yogiya Kamair Apuraya Kamani Karmanuham Nanayuni Su Yojitaha. Because of insatiable material desires, I was being carried away by the waves of material nature's law, and thus I was engaging in different activities, struggling for existence in various forms of life. As long as a living entity wants to fulfill various types of material desire, he must continuously change from one body to accept another. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that as a small piece of grass falls in a river and is tossed about with different types of wood and tree branches, the living entity floats in the ocean of material existence and is dashed and tossed amidst material conditions. This is called the struggle for existence. One kind of fruitive activity causes the living being to take one form of body, and because of action performed in that body, another body is created. One must therefore stop these material activities, and the chance to do so is given in the human form of life. Especially our energy to act should be engaged in the service of the Lord. For then, materialistic activities will automatically stop. One must fulfill one's materialistic activity. One must fulfill one's desires by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, for he knows how to fulfill them. Even though one may have material desires, one should therefore engage in the devotional service of the Lord that will purify one's struggle for existence. Akarma sarva karova, kamova, moksha kama udaradi, tivrena bhakti yogena, yayeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Anya bilasita sunyam, yana karmadi anavritam, anukulyena krishnanu, shilanam, bhaktir utam. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.167. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Please hear Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Please hear why I am detached from material action. This is explained in 3 verses. I have been made to perform actions by a thirst for desires which cannot be satisfied, which creates a river of samsara, bhavam vayinya. Just as one cannot cross a river, one cannot surpass the thirst for pleasure. Though rivers are filled with water by Indra's showers, desired objects are never satisfying. Though supplied yogahi profusely by Brahma, just as a river while flowing rises up and covers grass, wood, stones, and thorn, I contact various bodies, birth after birth. Just as one has to escape from crocodiles and turtles in the river by various methods, I have to escape from suffering by various actions. In this verse, it is explained how the living entity in the material world is struggling, but he is the cause of this struggle shows how unhappy he is because he keeps on having desires, and the desires are giving the result of what he is desiring. So he is the one who is constructing his material life, the life after life. He is responsible for his transformation, going through different species of and it is important to have pure desire, to be also surrendered as much as possible to the Lord, to avoid these different bodies, because it is also explained that the human body is closest to the Lord, and we have to follow this path of pure devotional service in order to advance in our life and stop creating new bodies according to our sense gratification. Okay, this is what I can tell Prabhu about the
Thank you. Very, very nice. Yeah, you got the main point. So this material world is sometimes compared here to the samsara river. Sometimes is the ocean of birth and death, samsara ocean. And sometimes it's also compared to the blazing forest fire. Samsara dhava nalalita loka, we sing every morning. Somehow I remember still clearly when I first came in touch with the devotees and got Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and started reading it. I had such a distinct feeling that that first I had the feeling that I was in the flames of a fire, and as soon as I started reading this book, these flames started to cool down, and I felt a relief. I cannot explain, but it was a very, very distinct feeling that I was first burning in the fire, and then that the fire was going down, and I felt great relief. So this is just a confirmation that what scriptures describe of this samsara ocean or forest fire is actually true and correct. And we are cycling in this ocean of birth to death for so many lifetimes, changing so many bodies. One lifetime we are man, another time a woman, and then demigod or animal or this or that. And why we are going through all this nightmare? Because we have so many material desires that we want to fulfill. So they are keeping us here. As long as we have the material desires, we have to be born again and again. But even if we have material desires, still we should worship Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, that's famous sloka, Akama, Sarva Kamava. Because by worshiping Him, eventually we'll lose our desires. He will take away first everything that we have. First, He'll take away our material possessions and wealth. Then He will make that all relatives abandon us. And once we are without any shelter in this world, we will take complete shelter of Him, and then He will clean our heart and make us fully surrender to Him. So even if we have material desires, still we should approach Krishna or God if somebody is practicing some other religion, and gradually, some advancement, some progress will be there. Anybody else has anything else on this verse? If not, then we can continue. Subhadra Mother, you would like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Yadri, 1 minute. Yes, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please read.
Okay. Yadrichaya lokam imam praptita karma bhi brahman sarvagapavargayor dvaram tirascham punar asya. Translation. In the course of the evolutionary process, which is caused by fruitive activities due to undesirable material sense gratification, I have received this human form of life, which can lead to the heavenly planets, to liberation, to the lower spaces, or to rebirth among human beings. Purport. All living entities within this material world are undergoing the cycle of birth and death according to the laws of nature. This struggle of birth and death in different species may be called the evolutionary process, but in the Western world it has been wrongly explained. Darwin's theory of evolution from animal to man is incomplete because the theory does not present the reverse condition, namely evolution from man to animal. In this verse, however, evolution has been very well explained on the strength of Vedic authority. Human life, which is obtained in the course of the evolutionary process, is a chance for elevation, swarga, purga, or for degradation, tiras, cham, punar asyacha. If one uses this human form of life properly, he can elevate himself to the higher planetary systems, where material happiness is many thousands of times better than on this planet. Or one may cultivate knowledge by which to become free from the evolutionary process and be reinstated in one's original spiritual life. This is called apavarga or liberation. Material life is called pavarga because here we are subject to 5 different states of suffering, represented by the letters pa, Pha, Bha, Bha, and Ma. Pa means parishram, very hard labor. Pha means pena, or foam from the mouth. For example, sometimes we see a horse foaming at the mouth with heavy labor. Bha means bhyartha, bhyarthata, disappointment. In spite of such hard labor, at the end we find disappointment. Bha means bhaya, or fear in material life. One is always in the blazing fire of fear, since no one knows what will happen next. Finally, ma means mrityu, or death. When one attempts to nullify these five different stages of life, pa, pha, bha, 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 and ma, one achieves apavarga, or liberation from the punishment of material existence. The word tirashcham refers to degraded life. Human life, of course, provides an opportunity for the best living conditions. As Western people think, from the monkeys come the human being, who are more comfortably situated. However, if one does not utilize his human life for swarga or apavarga, he falls again to the degraded life of animals like dogs and hawks. Therefore, a sane human being must consider whether he will elevate himself to the higher planets, prepare to free himself from the evolutionary process, or travel again through the evolutionary process in higher and lower grades of life. If one works piously, one may be elevated to the higher planetary systems or achieve liberation and return home, back to Godhead. But otherwise, one may be degraded to a life as a dog, a hog, and so on. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, those interested in being elevated to the higher planetary systems, Devulok or Svargalok, must prepare to do so. Similarly, if one wants liberation and wants to return home back to Godhead, he should prepare himself for that purpose. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore the highest movement for the benediction of human society, because this movement is teaching people how to go back home, back to Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 13.22, it is clearly stated that different forms of life are obtained by association with the three modes of material nature: Karanam, Guna, Sangha, Shat, Asat, Yoni, Janmasu. According to one's association with the material qualities of goodness, passion, ignorance in this life, in one's next life, one receives an appropriate body. Modern civilization does not know that because of varied association in material nature, the living entity, although eternal, is placed in different diseases, conditions known as the many species of life. Modern civilization is unaware of the laws of nature. Prakrite kriyamani gune karmani sarvashah ahankara vimut atma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the performer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita 3.27. Every living entity is under the full control of the stringent laws of material nature, but rascals think themselves independent. Actually, however, they can't be independent. This is foolishness. A foolish civilization, extremely risky, and therefore the Krishna consciousness movement is trying to make people aware of their fully dependent conditions under the stringent law of nature, and is trying to save them from being victimized by strong Maya, which is Krishna's external energy. Behind the material laws in the supreme is the supreme controller, Krishna. Krishna Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyata Sacha Racharam. Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Therefore, if one surrenders unto Krishna, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. Bhagavad Gita 7.14. One may immediately be freed from the control of external nature. Sagunan samatityai tan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Bhagavad Gita 14.26. This should be the aim of life. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Just the river sometimes comes up to the crossroads of a town. I have now attained the human form by pious acts which lead to Swarga, and by Gyan and Bhakti which leads to liberation, and by sin which leads to animal birth such as pig. After performing pious sinful acts and enjoying the results, the word cha indicate this. I have again come to the human form. Actually, it's long.
Tell you remember, just tell something.
Yeah. So actually, if you compare this Dharma wisdom theory and or Krishna consciousness theory, you see actually, if you think deeply, then you can see he is actually explaining like like the cyclus, like 8,400,000 forms of life, and then it goes cycle. When you have the desires, you are entangled in the mood of the three natures. Then you can take birth in the different kind of as a different kind of human form of an animal, etc. And when we come to Krishna consciousness, then we realize this, and then we can go back to Krishna, and we are not coming back as an animal or a human being. You go back, your soul is then purified. In short, like this, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. I remember this Darwin theory when I was in primary school. I remember reading it in biology book, and I mean, we were learning it in a class, and it felt really, even that time, I didn't know anything. We felt stupid. How come that a monkey became a human, and why today monkeys do not become humans? It didn't really make much sense. But somehow my father was a teacher of biology, so I had to say, yeah, I agree to this theory. And I think recently, after Prabhupada, there are many actually scientists who promote something called intelligent design. That everything that we see in this world, the nature, is a creation of an intelligent creator. That's called intelligent design. But still, I'm not sure how much in the mainstream science that intelligent design is accepted. And I'm also not very much aware how much the Darwin's theory is still taught in educational systems in the schools. And anybody knows, is it still there in the mainstream science in the schools? Darwin's theory? Do children still learn about it in the school? I guess
Unfortunately, yes.
they do. Okay, so it's still, I guess, part of mainstream science.
So Darwin theory is not only now popular in the school, but also popular among our working classes. For
Is it?
example, yeah, my previous boss, he used to use this Darwin theory to teach us the
Oh,
strong
really?
survival, and then the weak will be
Ah.
destroyed. he always used this to teach us you must become strong in your working.
Yes, somehow, unfortunately, looks like it's still there. Although it's very, very foolish theory. You can actually, if you follow some logic, you can make many counter arguments. The Darwin's theory does not really make any sense. But I guess Krishna is giving option to those who want to have materialistic and theories to be deluded and delusioned. The option is there.
Prabhupada very
Darwin.
famously said once that I think a journalist or a scientist, I can't remember who it was now. They were arguing about Darwin theories because your relatives you might have come from monkeys. My peerage is great rishis and something
Yes,
similar.
good. Yeah, coming from monkeys. I mean, there is a spiritual evolution. This is what Prabhupada says. Spiritual evolution means that, you know, that the soul is transmigrating, but not that, you know, bodies are changing into another species bodies. And how was that? Which animals get direct birth as humans in next life? Cow is the one, and then the lion, one who is in the mode of passion. The soul with the lion's body goes into the human body, and those who are in mode of ignorance, monkeys also get born as the humans in next life. This is what I remember. That I think Prabhupada also mentioned it a few times. And other species, they have to, you know, gradually make progress from one species to another. Just imagine how many millions of species of animals are there, and then you need to go, you know, through from butterfly to, you know, from cockroach to butterfly to another insect, and it takes very, very long time, this evolution.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
I would like to ask a question.
Please.
It's not that I'm talking for myself. I don't think I'll be I'm not a good devotee, so I'm not going to the heaven spiritual abode. So if I'm going to take birth in Earth planet again, like for a devotee, is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible, and it's actually probable, quite probable. One thing is sure, by being devotee in this lifetime, you're guaranteed human birth. And another thing is sure, you're not going to hell. This is what Yamaraj is
Yeah.
declaring. Yamaduta is declaring.
Yamadutas,
Yeah.
if I'm not a pure devotee, then Vishnu Dutas will not come. Yamadutas will only come. So
No. Even if you are neophyte devotee, Yamadutas will not come. You know, Yamaraj warned them to stay away. After that, Ajamil's incidents, he warned them to stay away from devotees of Narayan. So even if one is not pure devotee, he is guaranteed he is not going to hell. Krishna is not going to give such hellish suffering to his devotees, even if they're not pure. You know, Vishnudutas may not come until you are perfect, but you will get another chance. You'll be
and
born. Yeah.
if I get another chance, it will not be. There are many universes, so it can be the Earth planet of any universe or this universe only.
Generally, I think the same
Same
universe.
universe.
Generally, it's the same universe. Generally,
Okay.
the same planet Earth, and but might not be the same country. If you are born now in India, next lifetime might be in America or Europe or here or there. The country guarantee is not there.
Yeah.
But if you're a good devotee, you might get born in a family of rich aristocracy, as the Bhagavad Gita describes,
Yeah.
or even better, in a family of pious
Brahmanas.
brahmanas, or meaning devotees, in devotee Vaishnava family.
Yeah.
Then, from the very beginning of life, you have an opportunity to
Oh,
continue devotional service.
yes. Okay. Thank
Also,
you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Silpa Karini Mataji has raised her hand.
oh, Mother Sibakaran, please welcome. Yeah, I have to welcome Sibakaran Mother officially. It's first time that she's attending our class. So welcome Sibakaran Mataji, and please speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I was just thinking how it is said here that we need to prepare and qualify even for Svargaloka and etc. We were reading recently in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. Srila Prabhupada describes how actually, because Krishna Lila is always somewhere in some universe, it's always going on, that actually we get qualified to take shelter in the womb of some gopi. Then we get properly trained, and then we can go back home, back to Godhead. Some rare souls there can maybe go directly, but we need proper training and qualification. So that's the next life for some who are qualified and strict like that. Womb in the gopi womb, then back to God.
Thank you. Yeah, that is correct. This is for those who already achieve perfection, basically bhava or prema. Then definitely you need to go to another universe, because Krishna is now performing pastimes in another universe. So then you go out of the universe and you are born in Gokula Vrindavan on earth in material world, to prepare for Goloka Vrindavan under in the association of Nitya Siddha, Brijvasis, Gopis and Gopas. But we are not yet perfect, meaning that we still need to practice sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Then we stay within this universe and we are born on the same planet Earth, and if we are lucky, in devotee family, or at least a rich family. Yes, thank you. Would you like to continue reading, Silvakarni Mataji?
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, please.
Just a clarification. You mentioned that as devotees, human life is guaranteed next, but that's not necessarily the case, is it? Because we see in Shastra, Gajendra, Bharat Maharaj, etc., took lives as animals. And what about Vaishnava Prads? If one has committed Vaishnava Prads, isn't there somewhere, benediction is the wrong word, but that if you've created Vaishnava Prads, then you could be in going towards hellish life?
Yes, you're right, Prabhu. Actually, it's not very strict rule. There are no strict rules. If one commits sinful activity, even not Vaishnava, but sinful activity while living in Vrindavan, he's born as a monkey in Vrindavan. But the difference is it's not ordinary birth again. He is punished by Krishna directly for one lifetime. And after that one lifetime, he goes back. So similarly, if one committing Vaishnava Parad, again, he gets a punishment. He might be born as an animal. But again, it's not that he's going through whole cycle of evolution through hundreds of thousands and millions of species of life. No, for one lifetime, he'll be punished to be born in a body lower than human. And then he'll be back to human body to continue his path. So it's a temporarily setback. So in that sense, one is guaranteed human body. Maybe if not in next lifetime, after 2 lifetimes, he will get it if he committed some serious sinful activities or some apparatus. So in that sense, he will not be lost. This is what I wanted to say. He will not be lost, falling down in the cycle of birth and death, and again going through millions of species of life back to human life. He might be punished temporarily for 1 or 2 lifetimes, like Bharat Maharaj. This is a good example, actually. Yeah, he remembered a deer, and then by arrangement of Lord's material energy, he was born as a deer, but it was very, very short. And it was not ordinary birth, because he remembered his previous human birth, and he became very serious. And that life was very short. So after a few years, he was born as Jal Bharat, a great Brahmana. And in that lifetime, we know how he behaved and what he did. And yeah, but if we are kind of normal sadhaka devotee, we are not breaking the regulative principles. We are trying our best not to commit, Vaishnava parad, not to, offend devotees. We don't go on internet and criticize, everybody and anybody for any reason. Then most likely, if we don't go to another universe where Krishna is born, then at least we'll be born in a in a good family on this earth to continue. Which is better than being born in Swarga as a demigod, because there you won't be able to practice very much. But again, if one has very strong desire for material enjoyment, Krishna might fulfill, and you might be born in Swarga. I think somebody quoted once that Prabhupada said, "Oh, most of my disciples, they go to heavenly planets." I don't know whether it's correct or not, but it's a possibility. If you really want to enjoy and you're fixed on enjoyment in material world, and in this life you're practicing devotional service, Krishna will give you opportunity to go to Svarga, enjoy for 10,000 celestial years, and then again you'll be born after that here on earth, again in good family, to continue devotional service. But hopefully it won't be after this golden age in Kali Yuga, 10,000 golden years of golden age is finished, when there are no more, not many devotees around, then it will be a struggle.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes.
If you are not taken by Yamdutas or Vishnu Dutas, then who is coming to take you?
No, nobody. I mean, automatically by arrangement of a material energy, you are placed in a womb of a mother. It's nobody's coming to take you. You are just born again. I mean, at the time of death, you lose consciousness, and then in the 7th month of pregnancy, you awaken in a womb of a mother, and then once you are born, you forget everything because the shock is so great. So material energy, Lord Krishna's energy, external energy is taking care of that. That you are automatically born according to the Lord's will, because you are devotee. It won't be only karma; it will be Lord's also interference and arrangement where exactly you are born and for which reason. So Yamaraj is actually as good as Paramatma. He can see, past, present, and future, and he can arrange your birth uh, in a collaboration, cooperation with the material energy in exactly the room that you deserve, and that is good for you. So like that, Mataji, no need for Vishnu Dutas or Yamadutas.
Yes, but
And even if
I
you're
have
perfect, even if you're perfect as a Krishna Bhakta, it's not Vishnu Dutas who are coming, because we don't want to go to Vaikuntha. It's again Lord's internal energy who is taking you to be born in a womb of a gopi in another universe in Gokula Vrindavan. So again, Vishnu Dutas are not coming. Vishnu Dutas are coming only for Vishnu Bhaktas, Narayan Bhaktas, who go to different Vaikunthas.
okay.
But if you're
But
Krishna Bhakta, no.
what I have heard is that the soul is being is under the control of some, so it cannot get out of the body itself, or is that like that? What I have heard that the soul can't get out of the body itself. So
Oh, you
that's why
cannot
I
get
don't
out of the
understand.
body. Yeah,
Yes.
that's why so many times we got out of the body. How many times we died in previous lifetimes? Every time we got out of the body, not on our own, but arrangement of Lord's energy. So it's automatic process. The energy of the Lord, external energy, is arranging for us to get out of the body. Of course, those who are those who are sinful, they get out of the body, and they cannot get new body. If they're too sinful, for example, somebody commits a suicide, he remains in a subtle body of a ghost, until some, rectification, some pinda, some shraddha is done for him to get a new material body. And even during, there are accounts of, how's it called, out of body experience during the surgery, the surgical operation. People get out of the body and they float below the ceiling, and they see their body down, and they see, the doctors operating on the body. It happens if when the pain in the body is too strong, and then somehow soul gets out of the body. But then if they manage to fix the body, the soul returns to the body. But sometimes no. Sometimes means that that body is finished, and you go wherever the superior energy of the Lord arranges for you to go. So we don't need really to worry about it. Who will come and who will take us? Of course, there are some examples of some Prabhupada disciples leaving the body, and then Prabhupada came for them. They exclaimed, I don't know who was it, I forgot, but I heard quite few of them when they at the deathbed they raised and they said Prabhupada, and then they passed away. So this is also possible. The Prabhupada or spiritual master comes for you. There are many possibilities, many options. So it's all individual. There is no fixed formula how it will happen. All right. If you don't have anything
Prabhu?
else, yes, Chitramadaji.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is that, what about those devotees? They practice bhakti in Mayapur, and if they commit some sinful activities, so what's their destination at the end of death?
Oh, practice Bhakti Mapper, commit some sinful activities. Yeah, depends. It's I cannot say. First, you need to you need to know how serious these sinful activities are and whether they continue committing them till the end of life, or at one point they stop and they rectify themselves, they repent, and if they rectify themselves, most likely they will again get a human body and they will continue practicing devotional service. But if they remain fallen to the very last moment, then it's a question. Then the Lord will have to decide. Krishna as Paramatma Super Soul will decide what is in store for them. But even if you rectify and you kind of committed some civil activity, still some punishment in the next life might be there. You might be born in as a human, but you might be born in a poor country or a poor family, or in difficult situation, or have some disease, or this or that. Many possible options are there. Yeah,
Yeah.
option as animal also. Bird as animal is also there for one lifetime, of course, not for many. So some punishment will be there depending on severity of the sinful activity. But if you rectify completely and you surrender to Krishna completely, even if you committed sin, you might not get the reaction. If you don't commit it again, but if you commit it again, then punishment might be there. But it's Krishna is going to say what kind of
Yeah.
punishment.
And what about those false guru?
False gurus. Again, Krishna has to judge what kind of harm they did, how many people they misguided. Also depends what you mean by false guru. Somebody might not be, false devotee. He might be still sincere devotee, just he's not, realize Mahabhagavata, Uttamadhikari, but if he is trying his best, that's not sinful activity. It's not sinful activity, so why he would be punished? But if somebody is misguiding people, preaching the wrong philosophy, and misguiding people and just cheating them, taking their money, then he'll be punished definitely. How, I cannot say. The Yamaraj and others who are involved in these arenas, they will judge, and they have perfect judgment, so we don't need to worry about. Everybody will get exactly what he deserves, and if somebody is a devotee at the same time, Krishna's fingers will be also involved. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue reading. Gunraj Prabhu, would you like to read? Looks like he's not there. Who else? Santi Rupa Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, I can't see the...
Oh, sorry. I'm going back. Yeah.
Okay. Tatrapi tam dam patinam cha sukhayanyapanuttaye karmani kurvatam drishtva nivritto asmi viparyayam. Translation. In this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex, but by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. Purport. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Yan Maithunadi Grihamedhi Sukham Hi Tucham. Man and woman both seek sexual enjoyment, and when they are united by the ritualistic ceremony of marriage, they are happy for some time. But finally, there is dissension, and thus there are so many cases of separation and divorce. Although every man and woman is actually eager to enjoy life through sexual unity, the result is disunity and distress. Marriage is recommended to give men and women a concession for restricted sex life, which is also recommended in Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamo asmi. Sex life not against the principles of religion is Krishna. Every living entity is always eager to enjoy sex life because materialistic life consists of eating, sleeping, sex, and fear. In animal life, eating, sleeping, sexual enjoyment, and fear cannot be regulated. But for human society, the plan is that although men, like animals, must be allowed to eat, sleep, enjoy sex, and take protection from fear, they must be regulated. The Vedic plan for eating recommends that one take yagya shishta or prasad, food offered to Krishna. Yagya shishta shina santo muchyante sarva kilbishay. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food that is offered first for sacrifice. In material life, one commits sinful activities, especially in eating, and because of sinful activities, one is condemned by nature's law to accept another body, which is imposed as punishment. Sex and eating are essential, and therefore they are offered to human society under Vedic restrictions, so that according to the Vedic injunctions, people may eat, sleep, enjoy sex, be protected from fearful life, and gradually be elevated and liberated from the punishment of material existence. Thus, the Vedic injunctions for marriage offer a concession to human society. The idea being that a man and woman united in a ritualistic marriage ceremony should help one another advance in spiritual life. Unfortunately, especially in this age, men and women unite for unrestricted sexual enjoyment. Thus, they are victimized, being obliged to take rebirth in the forms of animals to fulfill their animalistic propensities. The Vedic injunctions therefore warn Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye. One should not enjoy sex life like hogs and eat everything, even to the limit of stool. A human being should eat prasad offered to the deity and should enjoy sex life according to the Vedic injunctions. He should engage himself in the business of Krishna consciousness. He should save himself from the fearful condition of material existence, and he should sleep only to recover from fatigue due to working hard. The learned Brahmana said that since everything is misused by fruitive workers, he had retired from all fruitive activities. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, even in human form, tatrapi, I experience suffering. Seeing the opposite, suffering,
appear by actions meant to destroy suffering, apanuttaye, and bring happiness, I have become detached from performing actions. So in this verse, it is said that no one can be happy by any sense gratification of any sort. So, as the Brahmana is saying, I suppose, that I've stopped taking part in any materialistic activities, because every materialistic activities ultimately give some kind of distress. It is never enjoyable unless we are like we take prasad, which is food offered to the Lord first, and then we take it. So like that, the sense gratification also, first, if we can please the Lord, then the Lord gives us happiness in any way, in all kinds of, in every aspect of our life. But the first consideration is trying to please Krishna, be it sex and gratification, or sleeping, or eating, or defending from fear. So I think this is the main.
Yes, thank you. The verse specifically here refers to sensual pleasure of sex, because this is the greatest sukha in the material world. And Prabhupada elaborately explains how men and women become entangled by enjoying sex in a materialistic way. Yeah, very plan for eating, prasad food offer to Krishna. Otherwise, it's sinful. Even if it's a vegetarian, but it's not offered, you'll get certain small reaction. But even if we eat prasad and we do it in unrestricted way, our senses will be uncontrolled, and that will cause trouble in execution of devotional service. It's not sinful, but if we are overeating again and again, apart from causing health problems, it will be very difficult to control the mind. So that's why control of the tongue is the most important. And because the tongue, belly, and genitals in the same line, then if one controls the tongue, he'll be able also to control belly and genitals. But if the tongue is uncontrolled, belly and genitals will also be uncontrolled. This is Rupa Goswami explaining in Upadeshamrita. So we should start trying to control the tongue by eating prasadam, but in the right time and right quantity, with the right consciousness also. Okay, anything else here, or we can continue? Gunnar Prabhu, are you there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are able to hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
There was some audio problem. Okay. Sukham ashyatmano rupam sarveho parshati stanu managa samsparshajan drushva bhogan swapshyami samvishan. Translation. The actual form of life for the living entities is one of spiritual happiness, which is real happiness. This happiness can be achieved only when one stops all materialistic activities. Material sense enjoyment is simply imagination. Therefore, considering this subject matter, I have ceased from all material activities and I am lying down here. Purport. The difference between the philosophy of Mayavadis and that of the Vaishnavas is explained herein. Both the Mayavadis and Vaishnavas know that in materialistic activities there is no happiness. The Mayavadi philosophers, therefore, adhering to the slogan Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, want to refrain from false materialistic activities. They want to stop all activities and merge in the Supreme Brahman. According to the Vaishnava philosophy, however, if one simply ceases from materialistic activity, one cannot remain inactive for very long. And therefore, everyone should engage himself in spiritual activities, which will solve the problem of suffering in this material world. It is said, therefore, that although the Mayavadi philosophers strive to refrain from materialistic activities and merge in Brahman, and although they may actually merge in the Brahman existence, for want of activity, they fall down again into materialistic activity. Ariha Krutrena Param Padam Tata Patanti Adaha, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32. Thus, the so-called renouncer, unable to remain in meditation upon Brahman, returns to the materialistic activities by opening hospitals and schools and so on. Therefore, simply cultivating knowledge that materialistic activities cannot give one happiness and that one should consequently cease from such activities is insufficient. One should cease from materialistic activities and take up spiritual activities. Then the solution to the problem will be achieved. Spiritual activities are activities performed according to the order of Krishna. Anukulyena Krishnaanusilanam. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.167. If one does whatever Krishna says, his activities are not material. For example, when Arjuna fought in response to the order of Krishna, his activities were not material. Fighting for sense gratification is a materialistic activity. But fighting by the order of the Krishna is spiritual. By spiritual activities, one becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead, and then enjoy blissful life eternally. Here in the material world, everything is but a mental concoction that will never give us real happiness. The practical solution, therefore, is to cease from materialistic activities and engage in spiritual activities. Yajnartat karmono anyatra lokoayam karma bandhanaha. Bhagavad Gita 3.9. If one works for the sake of pleasing the Supreme Lord, Yajna or Vishnu, one is in liberated life. If one fails to do so, however, he remains in a life of bondage. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura comments, but sometimes one gets happiness by actions. Why should one give up action completely? Happiness is the swarupa of the jiva. How does this manifest? This happiness arises from detachment from all thirst for objects, which arises from actions. Iha. This is the body which will produce spiritual bliss. Just as one cannot enjoy without a body, so without renunciation of enjoyment, one cannot experience the bliss of the Atma. Seeing that material enjoyment arises from desires and are flickering and therefore distasteful, I remain enjoying samvishan, the happiness of the Atma, which is by nature eternal, and I sleep. The future is taken as meaning the present tense, on the bed of divine flowers in the form of detachment. This explains the cause of his being fat and his enjoyment. The doctors say that the absence of activity is the cause of obesity. Or, though I do not experience bliss of the self completely because of a small trace of material thirst, after 5 days which complete destruction of that thirst, I will be completely absorbed in that bliss and will sleep. The future tense is taken literally. According to Medini, Samvesha means sleep and a sexual relationship with a woman. Thus, in general, the word indicates someone desiring enjoyment. So here we can see the difference between Mayavada philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy. Though both of them are agreeing that material activities will not bring real happiness, but the Mayavadis believe that they should stop all activity and finally merge into the Brahman. But that inactivity cannot be, sustainable. That's why even the Mayavadis, after merging into the Brahman, they cannot remain inactive for a very long time. So they eventually fall down from that Brahman position into the material life, and then they start doing the philanthropic activities like opening schools or hospitals, because they lack the spiritual engagement. Whereas Vaishnavas, they say that you should replace that material activity with spiritual activity. Specifically, by doing service in relation to Krishna. Such activities will, even though it looks like material, it will not bind you in this material world, and it will eventually liberate you from this birth and death, old age, disease. And yes, we have seen example of Arjuna's fighting also. Though it looks like materialistic activity, fighting in the war, but it is not like that. It is a spiritual, because it was ordered by Krishna. So the real happiness and the eternal happiness can be achieved only by pleasing the Supreme Lord, and not by simple renunciation.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You summarized it very well. Here, Vishnu Thakur, he describes how happiness is the svarupa of the jiva, that's the bliss svarupa of the jiva. Sometimes, we perceive peace as happiness, because if we are too much disturbed and somehow we become peaceful, we think this is happiness, which is in comparison to disturbed state of mind. But it's not a positive happiness. It's just absence of suffering, absence of disturbance. But real happiness, real bliss means ananda, and that only comes through bhakti, only through devotional service. All right, we have a little more time.
Prabhu, can I ask a question here?
Yes, please.
I often get confused with Prabhupada's labeling of Mayavadis and impersonalists. He quite often calls impersonalism Mayavadi, as opposed to the Mayavadi in the traditional form that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that we should not listen to, because it's worse than being an atheist. I.e., those that believe that there is no Paramatma, their Atma is Paramatma, and they're one and the same, and that you are Paramatma yourself. I thought that was the Mayavadi philosophy, as opposed to impersonalists, which are within the realms of the yogis that Krishna says are legitimate. It's just that they take a longer route because they go via impersonalists, being impersonalists. So isn't there a distinct difference? But Prabhupada quite often uses them interchangeably. So I get
Yes, this is my impression. Prabhupada used Mayavadis and impersonalists as synonyms. Basically, impersonalist was his English translation over Mayavadis. So then they are both the same. If we take Prabhupada's translation of that word, impersonalist, but there is one category of impersonalists called Brahmavadis that for Kumaras they were Brahmavadis. They were not offensive, but they were attracted to the Lord's impersonal feature. But they were not denying the personal form of the Lord. Just they were attracted by that personal feature, and only later, when they smelled the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, they became attracted to his personal feature. So Brahmavadis is one type of non-offensive impersonalist. And then Mayavadis are those who say everything is Maya, and even the Lord's personal form is Maya. That's why they are aparadis, they are offensive. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speak about those Mayavadis, offensive aparadi Mayavadis who deny the Lord's personal form. And we should strictly avoid their association. Is that clear, Prabhu? Shalash Prabhu?
Yes, yes, because I think in the first canto, somewhere, I can't remember which canto it was, but also Sukadeva Goswami is also referred to as Mayavadi.
Impersonalist. Yeah, as impersonalist, but I wouldn't say as Mayavadi. I don't think Prabhupada used that word for him. But as I said, he's a Brahmavadi. He was at the beginning Brahmavadi, attracted to Brahman realization. But when he heard the Bhagavatam, he became a personalist. He became attracted to Lord Krishna's personal form, and he became one of the greatest devotees. So impersonalists, they are on those who are realized, who are real, realized in person, not just by juggling some impersonal philosophy, who are just speculators, but those who actually realized Brahman, they're in very good position to take up the devotional service. And Shukadev Goswami is the best example, because he's not conditioned by anything material anymore. He is completely above the bodily platform. He knows he's the soul, and he knows the Brahman. He knows the Lord's impersonal feature. And now, if he at this point engages in bhakti, very quickly he attains prema. Very very quickly. For Shukadev Goswami, it took only few days to hear the Bhagavatam, and immediately he was lifted to the platform pure devotional service. So that's why, impersonalists can also be very, very high position if they're not Mayavadis, if they're not aparadis, if they're not offensive and deny the Lord's personal form. Because they realized one feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his impersonal effulgence. And if they're intelligent, they will, after that, engage in devotional service, and they'll become personalists, they'll become devotees. If they're not, then they fall down, as you say.
So if they are the offensive brand of the Mayavadis, i.e. the ones that deny the form of personal form of Krishna, but even worse, many believe that there is no difference between Atma and Paramatma. We are God ourselves, as it were. Then there's no chance of them actually merging into Brahman either, is there?
Actually, I was also thinking like that. How can they realize it if they are offensive?
Yeah, so if but here it clearly says, Prabhupada says in the purport, that according to Vaishnava philosophy, however, if one simply ceases from material activities, one cannot remain inactive for very long, and therefore everyone should engage himself in spiritual activities, which is, and then he says further up, even if they do, where is it? Even if they merge into, and although they may actually merge in the Brahman existence, for want of activities, they fall down again. But I wouldn't have. I would imagine that they can't even get to that stage, because even merging into Brahman means that there is a higher level of consciousness, which they're obviously not qualifying themselves by.
Yes. Correct. In most of the cases, they won't be even able to realize the Brahmana. But even in some extraordinary case, they manage to come to the level of Brahman or merge to it. Even then, if they are offensive, if they deny the Lord's personal form, and they don't want to engage in a devotional service, then they fall down. So I would assume that its possibility is there. If you see demons that killed by Krishna, some of them they merge into Brahman, they're Lord's enemies, and still he gives them opportunity to merge into his effulgence, or sometimes even into his form, which is even worse sort of merging. So if he gives that opportunity to his enemies, I would assume there are some offensive Mayavadis, if they are really proficient in their discipline, whatever their discipline they're following, they might be able to do that. For example, Buddhists, they have, very, nihilistic, wrong philosophy, but some of them very, very proficient in meditation, and they might be able to achieve nirvana. And according to my understanding, that nirvana is actually merging into Brahma Jyoti, but they're offensive, so they might not remain in that nirvana for very long.
I guess it's kind of an expansion of the kind of the format of heavenly planets, because even if you merge into Brahma Jyoti, you will come back down again. It says, isn't it? So
something like that.
Point. So yeah, it's not a permanent position that you have acquired. It's a temporary one. So it's kind of it has the same characteristics of the heavenly planets. I guess you eventually come back down again.
Eventually, but it's hard on heavenly planets because there is no material happiness or distress. That you're not affected by anything. The only thing you are bored because nothing is happening. In the beginning, you feel it's a blissful because all material suffering stopped, and you know that you are the soul. You know that you are spirit, and you're completely detached from the body. Even if you're still in the body, you're basically it's still a very high level of consciousness. If you are really realized Brahma, Bhuta, Prasanatma, but because you have no sight of the personal form of the Lord, after some time you slip back from that position. Your consciousness again becomes material. You go back to the bodily platform, and then you become identified with the body again and again, engage in materialistic activities, even the so-called welfare activities, like Gunnar Prabhu mentioned. But a real Brahma Bhuta, Krishna is describing in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta prasanatma na shochati na kamshati, no lamentation. You're completely satisfied. But it's not the end of the story. You cannot remain in that marginal position for too long, because no activity will cause you either to go back or to engage in devotional service if you're lucky, and you get association of devotees like Kumara's got, like Shukadev Goswami got, but they were not offensive. They were Brahmavadis. Okay, I think we already reached 6:30. Yeah, we didn't. Yes, Chitra Mataji.
Yeah, I have a question, but not about this Srimad Bhagavatam class. Can I ask you now?
Yes, sure. If it's something Shastrik, yes, please.
Yeah. I see that there is a court case that the ISKCON Bangalore won the Supreme Court case, and then they can be independent from ISKCON Mumbai. So ISKCON ISKCON News said they will fight again this cause because this ISKCON Bangalore, they are Mayavadis. So I don't understand because this ISKCON Bangalore, they said they are really weak, and they only believe Srila Prabhupada is the only Diksha Acharya in ISKCON. But now ISKCON News said they are Mayavadis, so I don't know whether you have any information about this.
Yeah, I don't know why they call them Mayavadis, but you can interpret maybe in some way the theoretic philosophy is Mayavada. You can label as Mayavada many things depending on your interpretation of it. Yeah, there are Ritviks. Madhu Pandit is a Ritvik. originally he was in ISKCON. It was the ISKCON temple, but somehow he got disgruntled and he registered his temple separately and then fought that court case. Now he won the case, so means the temple remains his. And they introduced this Ritvik philosophy where Ritviks initiate on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada remains Diksha Guru for everybody in the future. So why this Ritvik philosophy is Mayavada, I would need, to think. I maybe the ISKCON news they gave the logic why it's Mayavada philosophy. Mayavada means all is negation of personality. So maybe they label it as Mayavada. Ritvikism is Mayavada because they neglect Srila Prabhupada's order. Although they say they follow Srila Prabhupada's order, they deny Srila Prabhupada's personality by making him a Diksha Guru for all the time in the future. There are many possible interpretation why you can label certain type of thinking or certain type of philosophy as a Mayavada. So many things in on the TV and the newspapers, this, that, in art, in science, you can label as Mayavada. So I guess ISKCON news in a similar way they labeled the Ritvik philosophy as a Mayavada. It's a very broad term, not in a classical sense of somebody wanting to merge into impersonal Brahman, but Mayavada in terms of some impersonal understanding and whatever. Is that helpful?
Yeah, you say that the temple president originally he is Mayavadi.
No. Originally he was ISKCON devotee, but then he
Oh.
came up with this Ritvik philosophy. He had the ISKCON guru, but then somehow he got fried, and because so many gurus were also following this and that, and then he, together with some others, came up with this Ritvik philosophy that only Prabhupada should be a Diksha guru. So
Oh, yeah.
he's not Mayavadi in a real sense. What we mean by Mayavadi is somebody believing, wanting to merge into personal Brahman. So only if you interpret this Ritvik philosophy of some sort of Mayavada, which many things in material world you can label as Mayavada, then you can call Mayavadi. But
Yeah.
he's a devotee. He's a devotee. Just he accepts Srila Prabhupada as his Diksha Guru, and you can say from the point of view of ISKCON that this is a deviation, and because it's deviation, we can also call it Mayavada philosophy. I don't know if anybody else has any other insights on Chatura Mataji's question.
Yeah. If anybody have some information, you can say something about it. And what about this? How to say? This Pabu, this temple president, according to Srila Prabhupada's instruction, all ISKCON's temples in India must be under control of ISKCON Mumbai. So that means all temples are the branches temple of
Yes, correct.
ISKCON Mumbai. Yeah, but those just now ISKCON Bangalore said they are independent. So that means on the contrary, this ISKCON Bangalore, they already deviated from these instructions of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, you can say like that they deviated because Srila Prabhupada set up ISKCON India in such a way that it's all registered as one entity, and then all other temples are branches. In the West, he instructed that all temples should be registered separately as separate legal entities, but in India it's only one entity. It's ISKCON Mumbai, ISKCON Juhu, and then all other temples, including Mayapur and Vrindavan, they are branches, and they have to submit their accounts to ISKCON Mumbai. Everything goes through one, so it's centralized in India. But somehow Madhu Pandit Prabhu, he didn't like it, so he separated, and he came up with his Ritvik philosophy together with other people. And yeah, if ISKCON News is labeling them as Mayavadis, yeah, you can call them whatever way you want. They won't agree, but they are not classical Mayavadis. They are not preaching Mayavada philosophy in that sense. They're preaching. They're preaching the same philosophy as we are, just with a slight variation or slight deviation that they accept only Prabhupada as Diksha Guru. This is the only difference. All right, anybody else has anything on this or anything else? Otherwise, 1.5 hours already passed and we will need to conclude. So thank you all very much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
We'll continue next Wednesday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Om.
Krishna.
Krishna Kripa Sindhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.